What's up, everybody? We're finally taking a look at my custom Bumblebee movie, Starscream. So let's quickly take a look at his box and packaging real quick first. Very nice, packaging here. This was back when they actually did the window packaging, which I wish they would still do. It just makes it look so much nicer and more collector-friendly. But, of course, you got the Takara Tomy logo and whatnot, Transformers right down the side. Got a very nice render of Starscream here, which kind of helped me paint him. Not too much. I had to take a look at a lot of pictures to paint a lot of these Cybertron scene characters, which is a little bit hard to do. So I'm just glad that mine came out pretty well. Got Transformers Bumblebee at the bottom right there. He's number 72. And you got the kind of a face shot of Starscream here right on the back, which looks pretty nice. Got a pretty decent little product shot of him on the back right here. And then as far as the side, you got a much more bigger render of Starscream right there on the back. Nothing too crazy. Top's got really not much going on besides the window up here, which I really do miss the window packaging. It just looks so much nicer. And, of course, with every Studio Series figure, you do get a backdrop with him, too, as well. I'm pretty sure that it's the same as Soundwave, so I won't dwell on it, for too long, but it is pretty nice. So, let's go over Starscream's details. So, this figure is pretty nice. I mean, it's one of their seamless, kind of, I wouldn't say seamless, more like much streamlined figures. I already did do kind of a video on this guy, but it wasn't exactly a full-on review. It was more so just a let's redo it kind of video. I kind of abandoned that idea because that video took a long time to make, and it didn't exactly perform well, so I kind of abandoned that idea for videos. Maybe I'll pick it up back again in the future when I get a little bit more want for content like that. But other than that, I will still always, review my customs, but just showing you some of the stuff that I did too as well, and some of the sculpt work on this guy. He's sculpted beautifully. There's a lot of really nice points of detail on this figure that just needed, to be picked out in paint. And I dirtied this guy up. I made him look weathered down, and he was, I had not painted this guy at all when I did get him, which was kind of surprising. I kind of just left him as is. But then I was like, you know what? I want to paint him. So I did end up doing that, and you can see a lot of the mechanical detail that I did end up painting on him, just to kind of highlight a lot of those parts. And I did put a wash over him too as well. And as you can see up here, I did weathering with a dry brush, just to kind of pick out a lot of the details and to kind of make him look a little bit more like he's, actually on Cybertron, in the battle and whatnot. Did use my eye painting technique, too, for him as well, to give him those kind of, almost glowing eyes that I really love doing nowadays with the glowing eye kind of thing. It just enhances the figure and just makes it look, a little bit more alive. But he has a beautiful head sculpt. Like, this thing looks so good. I just wish he actually did stuff in the movie. I just really want to see the classic Decepticons in this new kind of Rise of the Beast universe. It would just look so cool. But anyway, as far as this figure goes, he has some pretty nice mechanical detail. Like these pistons here, I really enjoyed painting those up and picking those out. And a lot of the leg and crotch area, I really enjoyed weathering down and kind of just making it pop and stand out. I did paint up the arms, too, as well. These hands I had to paint blue because he had blue hands in the movie. But for some reason, they gave him just black hands on the figure. So his arms are painted up, too, as well. As close as I can get it to what I believe he looked like in the movie. I'd take a look at a lot of concept art. But, yeah, a lot of the details, too, here, like on the wings and such, are picked out. I went pretty heavy on the the black wash and all that, but I think it just makes them look so much more real, to me at least. And a lot of the portions on this guy were not exactly easy to paint, but yeah, I mean, that's the kind of the tools of the trade when you do paint figures. The only thing I don't like is that his cockpit is like rubbery. It's like this just rubber. It just kind of just looks a little bit, I wouldn't say cheap, but just kind of meh. The Blitzwing figure definitely did that a lot better, in my opinion, because this figure came out after Blitzwing, which was kind of crazy to think that this figure did something kind of mid. But yeah, I really do like the way this guy looks, and he's pretty close to what the actual movie model looks like, and I think I did a pretty decent job. And another thing about this figure that I really do like is a lot of the mechanical detail on him. Like, it just looks so good, and it just needed to be picked out a little bit. I don't think I painted his arms. I'm pretty sure his arms already were painted like that, but I did a black wash over it anyway, just to, make it look a lot better and more mechanical and more realistic. But, I mean, yeah, this guy just looks really, really great. He just needed some paint. So now let's talk about this guy's articulation. So when it comes to articulation for this guy, he's going to be a little bit limited, at least in the head area. He can't really look up or down at all. You can have some slight, actually no tilt at all. But he does have full rotation 360 with his head, despite it being on a ball joint, which is weird. He has some articulation in the wings if you want to orient him any way that you wish. As for his arms, they do spin a full 360 at the shoulder right there. There is a hinge at the shoulder too as well to hinge the arm out. He does have a hinge here too as well. But he does have a bicep swivel and a single jointed elbow that goes about that far. Technically has some hand articulation if you count that, but it's mainly for transformation. Then if you lift this crotch piece up, he does actually have some pretty fair waist rotation. So you can rotate the waist a little bit, just to line that back up there. As for the legs, they kick forward about that far, go back pretty much about that far. He does have a thigh swivel, a single bend at the knee, which goes about that far. And then as for the foot, no up and down movement, very slight, if any. He has a pretty deep, I don't know what to call this. I think it's a pivot or some type of articulation. It's very weird, but it works. So, I mean, he's pretty decently articulated. Nothing too crazy, but let's take a look at his accessories. So here are the accessories, and let's take a look at each one individually and, go over them. So his first accessory up here is these null rays. Now, he does have two of them, and I did paint both of the null rays up, but unfortunately he can't really have them on his arms, which sucks. But I'll get into that. But as far as the paintwork, I pretty much just painted this section here just in white and did a dry brush over it, or more of a wash over it, to make it all dirty and grungy. And then for the barrel part, I just kind of painted it in silver and applied the same kind of wash technique to it. And I did it to both null rays, so both of them are the same. I left the kind of tab on the actual null rays themselves blank, just that way paint wouldn't chip when I attach them. But I mean, these are nice little null rays. It's just a shame that he can't exactly use them as functioning null rays, at least in the robot sense. But they're pretty decent looking and sculpted pretty nice, so they're pretty good. His other weapon that he does come with is this kind of a blaster. I don't know what they call this or what it's supposed to be called, but it's just kind of a like a cannon arm type of thing. Blitzwing had the same type of thing, although this one's a little bit on the bigger side. But I painted it up nice with the silver here, dry brushed the front barrel part, but it's mainly blue with these kind of silver bits on the side that I put a wash over and painted in silver. Did some red bits too, and kind of dirtied those up and kind of put some dry brush and kind of scrape marks to it as well. Made it look all pretty nice, and I think it came out pretty well. There's a peg on the bottom there for it to attach to his arm, but there's not too much to really go over other than the sculpt work is again pretty nice on this thing. But let's take a look at how the weapons work. So integration of the weapons. The null ray is here. Just taking the peg on them. They can't go on the arms, which I know it sucks. But you just take the peg there and you just put it on the wings, and it's a very kind of loose fit. They do kind of move around a little bit. So I don't exactly know why they added these. I mean, it's cool to have them. It's just they don't exactly work as, null rays like how he's supposed to have, which really sucks. But as for the cannon arm, it just kind of goes in the hand with the peg there. Or what I like to do is I like to fold in the arm, and then I like to peg it into the hand while it's folded in to kind of give it that, kind of looks like it transformed out of his arm a little bit there. Kind of bend the elbow up to kind of conceal and make the illusion real. But I mean, he does look pretty good with his weapons, but let's take a look at the size comparisons. All things considered, he does look pretty cool, all weaponized up. So, getting on to the scale of this guy, before we do get into the transformation. So, as for the scale, I think he scales pretty well, considering, didn't have a good idea of how big he was next to some of his other Decepticon teammates, or even the Autobots for that matter, because he was only in like 5 or 6 minute clip. But here he is next to the Bumblebee movie, Jeep Bumblebee, which is the only good Bumblebee from that movie, aside from the Cybertron one, but I don't have that one. That's how they look together. And then here he is next to the Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime, which used to be a figure that was pretty sought after. Not so much anymore because of Rise of the Beast, but it is still a nice figure, and I think they scale pretty decently, at least from what I could tell from the movie. But this Optimus is inaccurate in some ways. Now to kind of bring in some newer figures from, by the time recording this video, not newer, but the Studio Series Rise of the Beast Bumblebee. And then here he is next to the Studio Series, technically not, but the Byway Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime. I think they scale pretty decently with each other. This Optimus Prime is definitely the better buy for an Optimus if you want to get one. So they scale pretty well. And then now to take a look at his Decepticon comrades. So first up, of course, Soundwave. I think they scale pretty decently with each other. And then next, I'm going to bring in Shockwave here, because Shockwave and Starscream both shared a scene together. So there they are, and I think this works out pretty well. And the Shockwave is really, really, really nice. And then for one last and final, at least, Decepticon here, is Megatron from at least the Cybertron scene. I got one more Decepticon I want to pair him up next to, but there he is next to the current leader class Megatron. And then, of course, his first, technically the first of this kind of particular mold, I would say, is the Blitzwing from the Bumblebee movie. And they share some similarities, but there are a lot more differences. It was pretty much feels like a heavy retool between the two. But I do prefer the cockpit on Blitzwing as opposed to Starscream, just because, I just think the cockpit just looks better on Blitzwing. There are some downgrades with Starscream, though, which does kind of suck. But having him all nicely painted up and everything, and next to his other Decepticon comrades, they look all really, really good together. So, onto his transformation. It's pretty simple and pretty straightforward. First, we're just going to take off the null rays and his cannon right here. Then what we're going to do is flip and fold in the hands on both arms. And then next what we're going to do is just raise these arms kind of just up and out of the way for right now. Then what we're going to do is actually take this head section, lift it all the way up like so. And then what we're going to do next is, usually you would push those in, but I like to keep them out so the paint doesn't scratch on them. And plus they are a pain in the ass to pull out. But next we're going to do is just kind of fold these kind of wings down, and they will self-lock in. And then next what we're going to do is actually take this kind of front section here, lift it out, and then push this piece here all the way back as far as possible. Then we're going to do for right now is actually come to the back here, and we're going to, let me see here, we're going to split these sections here open a little bit there, so that way they're untabbed, like so. And then next, what we're going to do here is push it back forward, and then we're going to get these wings, move these a little bit forward, so that way they make some clearance for this section here. And then we're going to take the kind of cockpit piece here, the front of the nose cone, split these sections open, flip out the nose cone, and then just kind of push it till it tabs into the cockpit area. So just give it a little firm push and it will go in there, and everything will be all set pretty much for the front of the kind of jet mode or Cybertronian mode. So then we're going to bring those two halves back together like so and just leave it there for right now. Next, what we're going to do is work on the legs, because the main bulk of the transformation is with the legs. So what we're going to do here is we're going to flip out the kind of a tail fin area, and we're going to unravel that out, bend the foot in, then we're going to is spin the leg around like so on the thigh. We're just going to flip out some of these panels here. Then this is going to flip all the way around, and then it is going to actually kind of just lay there, kind of soft tabs. We'll just move this kind of filler piece in, and then we're going to flip out that panel. And then next we're going to flip out the rest of this tail fin right there. And then that's one leg done. Now we're just going to do the same for the other side. So just kind of open this front bit out, swing out the whole panel section here, like so. And then next we're going to do is just swivel the thigh around, bring over that filler piece, flip up that kind of tab there, and then we're going to move the foot in, like so. And then next we're just going to lock these legs together, just kind of push them back a little bit, and then they will just kind of peg on in together. It'll just peg in the back here, but at first what we're going to do is just move the head all the way up, so that way it goes inside the legs there, so it gets concealed. Then we're going to peg it in, so these just tab together at the top right there, and then these two tabs right here interlock, so just make sure you get them both together and centered, so that way they do interlock. They do have a tendency to pop open while you're kind of doing the transformation a little bit, but we're pretty much almost done. Now we're going to do is just move these wings up and get those out of the way again, because then next what we're going to do is we're going to untab these arms. So just kind of swing these like so, and then just grab it from here, and then they should just untab out from the torso piece. So just do that on both sides. It might be a little bit stiff, so just move that out. And then next what we're going to do here is we're going to spin these big old intake areas around, and then we're going to move the arms back up, and then just kind of move these pieces on in, and they should just come together pretty simply. But first we got to make sure that this whole leg area is nice and flush, so we're going to move these wings back down, and then what we're going to do is make sure that the legs sit flush with these kind of red bits right here. There's a tab section. It doesn't exactly tab in. It just kind of rests into a kind of slot. So just kind of move these down and make sure that those are as flush as possible, like that. Just to make sure it's all lined up perfectly. Should be good, I think. But if it does come undone in the back, just kind of tab it back together, like so, and then it should be all good to go. This piece wants to keep coming up. So, yeah, just make sure that's flush. It might come untabbed a couple times, so just make sure it's all flat like that. Then we'll come back here to the arms. Now these pieces can fully go in. And then next what we're going to do is kind of rotate at the biceps these arms right here, so both of them get rotated. And then we're going to make sure that these arms here are close together, and they will just bend back and kind of go into the chest area here just a little bit, not all the way. But next we're going to do is going to actually spin the section of the wings over here and then fold out this kind of panel right there. Doing the same on the other wing, just kind of fold it around and then fold the panel out until you have something that looks pretty much like this. And he's pretty much done. I mean, all we have to do now is just add the weapons. So the null rays, of course, just go on the inside here. You can use the tab for that there if you wanted to. I'm not really going to, but it is an option there if you want it. I just use the pegs, so I just peg it on in because it doesn't really make much of a difference in my opinion. So you just kind of peg those in. That gives him his weapons underneath the wings there. And then for his main cannon, it actually is part of the vehicle mode, which is very nice integration. So you just flip this part up, and then there will be this big blocky section here that will tab into that part right there. And you just tab that in, and then there are little tabs that will plug into the back of the cannon on both sides like there. And then there you go. You pretty much have his jet mode all done, and he looks, pretty awesome. So here's pretty much his jet mode all together. So going over the kind of jet mode itself, it's pretty nice. I do kind of like the Cybertronian kind of Tetrajet look to it. Some parts I have not painted yet, mainly because I have them displayed in robot mode, so I haven't really gone ahead and taken a look at his vehicle mode yet for paint, but he looks pretty nice. And he does kind of stand or sit on his own, which is pretty cool. The overall engineering of this guy is pretty insane for what it is. I really do like the sculpt work that's on the wings here, and especially just all around. I really, really, really do love the cockpit area here. Even though I don't really like the color, I still really do like the way it looks. And then the putting the dry brushing and the wash on it just really does make this thing pop. He does have a presence in his vehicle mode, but if you wanted to, you could actually have the wings up if you want. You can, do it that way. It's not too bad. The wings do kind of remind me a little bit of animated Starscream, in a sense at least. It is cool that the kind of null rays are at the bottom here, just to kind of have guns on the wings. I mean, this guy is pretty loaded up. But as far as details go, he has these really nice thrusters in the back that I do like. He does fold up pretty well. I mean, a lot of it really is just folding for this guy. There are some parts that I still have to paint up just a little bit, because I kind of forgot some sections to paint. But for the most part, he is pretty much done, at least as far as robot mode goes. And I really do like, the way that he came out. And this jet mode is not too bad. I do wish that the sections up here would kind of stay together a bit better. I've been trying to squeeze them in and everything, but they don't really like to stay together. I mean, that's as far as it goes. But you can see it's kind of opening a little bit there. I really do like that these parts on the top here fill in those gaps. It's quite nice to have, because this guy is a little bit gappy, and these Cybertron modes can get a little bit messy when they're not done properly, but I'm overall happy with how this guy actually came out. So let's talk about his scale in vehicle mode, shall we? So as far as the scale in vehicle mode goes, I think he scales pretty well. He does like to kind of topple over just a little bit. But bringing in Megatron here, I figured this is what the scale would be in the movie. I think this Starscream is actually quite bigger in scale compared to Megatron in vehicle mode, which is kind of interesting. But I figured maybe this might be, what it would be like in the movie. But of course, here we also have him next to the Studio Series Bumblebee movie Shockwave from Cybertron. And this guy is quite big for a Voyager. With a lot of these Bumblebee movie Voyagers, they're pretty pretty on the big side, which is pretty cool. Then just for, one last final comparison here. Here he is next to Blitzwing from the Bumblebee movie, and he even is bigger than Blitzwing, which is kind of crazy. I think maybe they might revisit Blitzwing, which would be kind of cool. But I still feel like the Blitzwing figure is really nice. But this is pretty much how they scale with each other. I do think that Blitzwing, of course, is a lot more tidied up, mainly because he's not a Tetrajet. But all in all, he's pretty good. Now, let's just go over the final thoughts. So, for some final thoughts for this guy, he's pretty good. I like the sculpt work on him. I think he has a great shelf presence, although his articulation is kind of mid. He can't really do a lot of poses. His foot articulation is a little bit weird in some ways. But other than that, I love the mechanical detail. I love how clean he is. He has no backpack, no junk hanging off. He's very, very clean and streamlined, which a lot of the Cybertron scene Bumblebee movie figures are. And I'm actually quite glad they made figures of these characters, even though they were barely in the movie. They were just in one scene. But the figures they have made for that scene are really great, and I've reviewed a decent handful of them, mainly the Decepticons, because I love the Decepticons. But other than that, I really do wish that he could hold his null rays on his arms like how Starscream usually does. Even if he didn't do it in the movie, it would just be nice to have that as an option with this guy, because unfortunately you don't have that option. And again, articulation is a big thing. His head can't really move into too many, crazy, poses or movements. So I did my best with what I could with him for these poses here. But unfortunately, he just does not pose as great as I would hope. But he does look really nice. And for a Voyager class figure, he's on the tall side. So it's pretty cool. He does tower over Bumblebee and such. But as far as the vehicle mode goes, no issues. I think it looks great. It closely resembles the on-screen model of the Tetrajet. It just looks great. But anyway, that's it for this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.